Welcome back to the best division in football with Awthentik and the Beard, presented by All or Nothing Studios. What's up, team? Thanks for tuning in. Tuesday night recap night. I've heard some adjectives about the NFC East the last couple days: putrid, dumpster fire, unsalvageable, abhorrent, and offensive. And I believe they're all correct and accurate. The NFC East was 0-3-1 this week. That's right. Doug Peterson not trying to win football games for Philadelphia. Let's say what's up to the fellas. Awthentik, what it do, my guy?
Man, it don't do too much, man. Dismal football, man, this past weekend. As soon as it hit 4 o'clock, I'm feeling like garbage. This season, man, this 2020 has been one for the record books, to say the least, man. So yeah, we're looking for change. Just as happy as I was to get football back in my life, I'm just as upset to see the Giants at 0-3. And this NFC East, man, we looking like garbage. The worst division in football, I swear to goodness.
Yeah, they're definitely making us look horrible with our name choice. But the Beard, man, what's going on? How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay, I guess. You know, we're still in first place.
Sound like a battered.
Right. My COVID test came back negative.
Well, I mean, I don't know what else I can ask for. I mean, we're in first place after the first month of the season, so that's a plus. And then I don't really know how else to go with it.
I mean, I like the optimism, I guess, but, you know, say what it is. I don't know. We're going to jump right into our first recap. Actually, we're going to go around the league. I don't know if you guys watched the Monday night game last night. Ravens took on the Chiefs, the battle of the last two MVPs of the league. This dude, Patrick Mahomes, he got the $500 million extension a couple months ago. He's still underpaid. He tore it up, 31 of 42, 385. He had 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions. He was totally surgical with the Ravens defense, which is not as good as past years, but still no slouch. On the flip side, Lamar Jackson, not his best game. He only had 97 passing yards, had a touchdown, he had 83 yards on the ground running. So he did a little something with his feet, but overall, the Ravens fell. It was 34-20. Chiefs took it. Awthentik, man, how you feel about Pat Mahomes? Patrick?
Man, Pat Mahomes on fire, man. Y'all know that's my guy. I've been high on Patrick Mahomes since he came in as a rookie, before he even saw playing time on the field. I mean, the boy crazy, man. I talked about this when we did our Thursday show. I talked about Lamar Jackson being 0-2 against him already, man. I mean, this Kansas City Chiefs team, man, I mean, Super Bowl front runner for the next 5 years, maybe. I mean, the weapons that Patrick Mahomes has over there just makes it silly. I was down in my fantasy game by like 110 points, man. I had Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. I ended up only losing by like 9 or something like that, man. So these boys on fire, man. Definitely perennial Super Bowl front runners right now. Patrick Mahomes, I don't want to jump the gun and talk MVP talk too early, but the boy is crazy right now. And we know as the season progresses, he's probably going to get better.
If it wasn't for your boy Russell Wilson in the upper Northwest, I think Pat Mahomes would, definitely be in that top 2 conversation. But interesting you were saying about Lamar Jackson versus the Chiefs. Against the rest of the NFL during the regular season, he's 21-1. Against the Chiefs, he's now 0-3. He's never won a game against the Chiefs. So
ridiculous.
He did say that. I think he said after the game that the Chiefs were the Ravens' kryptonite.
Oh yeah, he did say that.
You can't say that, right? You can't say that.
Nah, I mean, isn't that
0-3? I mean, he's just speaking the facts, bro.
How much is that in comparison to the likes of Pedro Martinez?
Who's your daddy? That's exactly what I thought about when you just said that. Who's your daddy? And then he went in. He almost blew that first World Series for them when they brought him in like the 9th inning and he gave up all those runs.
Crazy. I mean, this is the thing though, is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's on another level, right? And Awthentik and I were talking about it before about how it's just he's got everything that you could want over there. He's got an amazing head coach. He's got probably the best offensive coordinator in the game in Eric Bieniemy. Got an offensive line. He even has a better running game than he did before. And the defense has improved for the last 2 years. So it's like, I mean, you can't really find a hole. And I think that game against the Chargers really was important for them. Even though it was so early in the season, I think to have that test, especially right before this game with the Ravens, was huge for the Kansas City Chiefs. On the Ravens side of the ball, I don't know. I've been a little bit suspect of their play calling. You know, like their like run game is kind of been off a little bit this year. I don't know. I thought they were going to start giving J.K. Dobbins some more carries. That's why I was so blown off when Awthentik said Gus Edwards had the most touches in their last game.
Yeah, that was super interesting. And Mark Ingram, man, he got blown up on that screen, man. You don't see a big guy like that taking hits like that. Lamar Jackson, man, you know, towards the end of the game, I noticed something very peculiar about this offense. I don't know if you noticed, he took 3 sacks to end that game, and he was just dropping back, and it's like he had no confidence in what was going on down the field. He had the one, I don't know if it was an overthrow or like kind of like a side throw to Hollywood where he missed him on the deep throw. But besides that, I mean, that fourth quarter offense from the Baltimore Ravens they just looked dismal. I mean, they just didn't look interested, and Lamar Jackson looked like he didn't have no faith in the play calling, to be honest, man.
And they don't have that go-to player on offense. I mean, even in years past with Joe Flacco, they always had that like reliable tight end who'd kind of be the safety valve for their quarterback who's limited. Flacco was limited with his legs. Lamar Jackson limited his accuracy. You know, it's kind of Dwayne Haskins-esque. It's not always there. If you don't have that guy you can really depend on when you got to make a throw, you're going to look like Awthentik said Lamar Jackson looked last night in the fourth quarter, kind of confused by what's going on.
Yeah, that's facts, bro.
So I think the report was today or maybe last night. We have our first COVID outbreak. Tennessee Titans. It was 3 players, I believe 5 staff members tested positive for COVID-19. So they're all quarantined. I think everybody's quarantined. The Beard, you have more information than I do. Why don't you fill us in what's going on?
So as far as I know, there was the 3 players, the 5 personnel or staff members is what basically the reports are saying. So Minnesota shut down their facility as a precaution because Minnesota played Tennessee this weekend. And so Minnesota had 0 positive tests. Okay. So that's a plus, a positive sign in this story. And they also got tested again. So basically Tennessee shut down their facility. Minnesota shut down their facility. Now they have contacted both of their teams' opponents for this upcoming week, have contacted them and told them to be on the edge of their seats because there might be a reschedule for their games. A lot of sports books have taken off the games from the betting lineup already. But I think
really?
Yeah. I think and then by the way, that's a good time to plug the parlay every Sunday morning at 11 a.m.
Facts.
But I think they're doing what they're supposed to do and taking these precautionary measures, following protocol, doing the quarantine, shutting everything down. But the fact that everybody in Minnesota tested negative, that's a good sign. I think that, this is going to happen. Like if it would have been more than the 3 players, like say it was flip-flop, like 5 players and 3 personnel, then maybe you might have a little bit more concern as far as the game being played this week. But if you look at baseball had similar situations, multiple occasions during the restart of their season. First with Miami Marlins, and then second with...
I'm so out of the loop in baseball. I'm
second,
like, what?
No, the Marlins made the playoffs. They lost 105 games last year, and they made the playoffs this year. It's crazy.
They have a winning record, though? Because there's like 3 teams that made the playoffs that don't have winning records. MLB.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about all that, but I'm just, the point is that they were able to continue on with this season, and, everything worked itself out. Like, obviously, all this would have been better if we would have just done the bubble cities, but we're past that point. St. Louis Cardinals was the second one. They had a big outbreak, 15, but that was because they was going to the casinos and the strip clubs. So hopefully...
With the Cardinals, we got 15 players?
No, it was the Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals in baseball.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is what I was going to ask you. With the outbreaks that are happening here in the NFL, did they release the players' names?
No.
See, that's sketchy because it comes time where an actual player who is a pivotal player on a team has to sit out a game for COVID. I was talking about that in the beginning of the year before we started. Like, that's going to change the whole outlook of the season if we got to worry about COVID coming up and knocking out some of your key guys and putting them on the injury report off of a virus, spreading around America, which is pretty crazy. And I think the NFL was allowing the NFL season to continue, and we talked about this before we had even started, Tim, like, if the season was going to happen when things were in loom, we were like pretty confident that the football season was happening because Roger Goodell was giving us like all the implications that the NFL was going to go full throttle with this. And even we were going to have some fans in the stadiums. I mean, they got to nip this in the bud immediately. This cannot get out of hand because, the season will be on the line here for the NFL. And I know that's a lot of money, and a lot of fans will be disappointed if games are going to be getting canceled because of COVID.
Yeah, and I mean, think about it like this. Some of these stadiums already are having their fans in the stadiums. There's fans in the stands that I'd say, I want to say a good quarter of the teams are allowing some fans into their stadium to some capacity. I mean, the state of Florida has literally been like, okay, guys, we're open. Let's rock and roll. Bars, restaurants, no restrictions. It's a party. Spring break 2020 is resumed down in Florida. So it's like and what I'm curious to know is if because they're doing the tracing too.
Yeah.
So it's like eventually I'm assuming that there's going to be some information that's going to start to roll out here in the next couple of days as far as the tracing goes to let us know who and how they came about the virus, because it is important to a certain extent. Obviously, you don't want to release people's medical records and all this and that.
Yeah.
But, as far as protocol goes, we want to make sure that, the teams are doing what they're supposed to be doing to avoid situations like that. But I'm positive in the outcome of this. I think, the protocol and the way that they're handling everything right now is good, and they got out in front of it early. Because, I mean, like, look, okay, if you got those players, they tested positive. If everybody else tests negative the rest of the week, those guys don't play. Everybody else plays. Game on. Let's go. It's time for football Sunday.
Cernock actually just brought up the most important fact about it. The dinosaurs became extinct from the original COVID strain. So this is something you guys should just.
That's if you believe. That's if you believe in dinosaurs.
Oh, Tim got a theory on dinosaurs that all his close friends know all too much about.
Everybody in the chat who's a reseller already knows about how I feel about dinosaurs. I'm pretty sure that's why Cernock said that. I gotta give a quick shout out to Mark Kokowski for giving me a win in fantasy football this week. He decided to start Gardner Minshew instead of Aaron Rodgers. And I was the only team in our entire fantasy football league that played a perfect lineup this week. So shout out to me.
Congratulations. Shout out to me. I like that.
Yeah, nice job. Way to plug yourself. You wait.
Dinosaurs are not real, Christian. We'll save that for another day, though.
Got to hashtag it. All right. Before we get too deep into the mind of the beard, we don't want to expose anybody on the internet to the mind of the beard. First recap, we're going to talk about by far the most exciting game, in my opinion, of the NFC East this weekend was Dallas taking on Seattle. Seattle prevailed. It was 38-31. Heavyweight bout. Lead changes back and forth. Offense all over the board. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys got the ball with a little under 2 minutes to go. They were driving to take the lead. Got down to the Seattle 20-something yard line. Dak threw an interception, which kind of sealed the fate for the Cowboys. But overall, I think Dak Prescott played a phenomenal game. He almost led to victory over the Seattle Seahawks, best team in the NFC. Ezekiel Elliott didn't even really get off the bus. Dude had 30 rushing yards on 15 attempts. Pathetic showing by him, but Dak almost carried him to victory. The Beard, how did you feel about the game?
I felt great because the Cowboys lost. I mean, that was a huge game. Because they were at 4:00 and the Giants, the Eagles, and the Washington football team all played at 1:00. So it was like we had already seen the debacle that had happened. So I was like, if the Cowboys lose, everything's okay as far as the competitive nature of the division goes. And they got lucky that it was as close as it was, because DK Metcalf didn't have a Deshaun Jackson moment. That game would have been a little bit more out of reach for the Cowboys. I don't know. I think they have some problems in Dallas. They're obviously the best team right now in the division as far as NFC East goes. I think, as bad as they have played and there's, the issues that they have, their offense is still leaps and bounds beyond everybody else in the division. As far as the game goes, Russell Wilson, that young kid though who made the play on DK Metcalf, he's got his hands full on that defense. Trayvon Diggs
on him one time. Yeah, that's a bonehead play by him, and only like diva style players make. And before you get to the goal line, you let up and you let somebody snatch the fumble out of your hands like you Leon let. I mean, as quickly as he caught that pass is as quickly as he relaxed and started celebrating. It was almost like in a split second he did that. Dak Prescott battled heavy in this game, like I said he would. I'm really surprised that the Cowboys didn't come out with the win because, I mean, this running game, normally Zeke, you know, they can rely on Zeke, but you look at this game here, Zeke 20 yards on 11 carries. That is not a winning formula. I don't care. You got to be able to run the ball in the NFL to be able to get wins. And especially when you're facing Russell Wilson on the other side of the ball, I mean, these numbers are so crazy. The NFC East just kind of blew me this week. Wilson has thrown 14 touchdown passes this season. That's the most in 3 games by any player in NFL history, right? On the other side of the ball, their defense is allowing so much yardage. It's just ridiculous. It's the most yardage allowed in 3 games by any defense, by a pass defense here. Falcons had Matt Ryan go for 434 yards. The Patriots went for 397, and Dak Prescott threw for a season high 461 yards.
Do you see any correlation? Do you see any correlation, though, between having a high-powered, quick-strike offense and having a bad defense? Because the Seahawks are scoring quick and efficiently. They're giving the other team the ball a lot, which teams that run the ball, control the clock like Seahawks used to be, maybe wouldn't give those possessions. Like, you know,
I think it has a lot to do with not being able to close the game out with the run. You know, Chris Carson gets banged up in this game, and I just think when it's time to really seal the deal, and if people are coming out about that tackle saying that was a dirty tackle. I mean, you know, you have to secure the tackle, especially when you're holding on by an ankle like that. You got to secure the tackle. So I think it's somewhere in the middle ground there. I don't fault him, the tackler, on that one because he is kind of twisting the ankle, but it's like these guys will get away if you don't do things like that. But those 3 quarterbacks against this Seattle defense, I'm going to show you another interesting number that really stuck out to me. But those 3 quarterbacks, that 1,292 passing yards in 3 games is the most in league history ever by a defense too. So as Russell Wilson is breaking history on the offensive side of the ball, throwing the ball, on defense, their pass defense is terrible. But listen to this. Against the run, the Seahawks are their defense is incredible against the run. They held Atlanta to 3.4 yards a carry. They held the Patriots to 2.7 yards a carry. That's including the carries that Cam Newton got. And they held Dallas to 2.9 a carry. What is going on over there? Like, you stopping the run like nobody's business, but you're allowing historic numbers to be put up against you on the passing side of your defense. And that Dak Prescott and his Cowboys couldn't come out and get a victory on this, it shows you how terrible that Cowboys defense is. I mean, I know Russell Wilson is coming in extra hot, but can we get a stop or two? I mean, I didn't think that they were going to put up 30 points again. Russell Wilson, 27 of 40, 315 yards and 5 touchdowns. Didn't he have 5 touchdowns last week?
Yeah, he's the first Seattle Seahawks player in history to have back-to-back 5-touchdown games, quarterback.
Yo, these numbers are just – COVID has to be playing a role in this. I mean, the Seahawks defense, pass defense, is terrible, but their run defense is one of the best run defenses in the league through 3 games. I don't know how you can account for this as a coach. I mean, you're stopping the run incredibly. What can we do to stop the pass? Because if the Seahawks could stop the pass, they'd be up there with Patrick Mahomes and them as the Super Bowl frontrunners. Patrick Mahomes and them are coming off an 11-ranked defense last year. That's why they're able to seal these wins. And even when you saw them not play well against the Chargers in week 2, they can still come out with a victory because their defense is still playing lights out. I don't know what Seattle's going to do here.
You think that their defense takes them out of Super Bowl contention right now? Because the NFC, the Seahawks.
No, I don't think it takes them out of contention, but you're just not looking at them. You're just not looking at them as that high-powered team like you're looking at the Chiefs right now. The Chiefs look unstoppable because their defense is doing things, and they got that young rookie and they're running the ball like nobody's business. Seattle is on the opposite end of that. They're throwing all these touchdowns. They're slinging the rock to DK Metcalf. Lockett's getting all the numbers you could possibly get. Yeah. Every week they got a wide receiver you never heard of getting catches. They're frying on the offensive side of the ball, and if their defense could stop the pass here, I think we're looking at Seattle as the front runner for the Super Bowl over Kansas City. I mean, Russell Wilson is playing better than Patrick Mahomes right now.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson right now is the best player in the NFL at this current moment, 3 weeks into the season. I mean, Josh Allen's the close second as far as, what he's done and how their team has performed together. But I think Uncle B's Old School Flips brings up a good point about Mike McCarthy. I remember in the first, I believe it was the first show of this season, we talked about how would Mike McCarthy's offensive philosophy mesh with the Cowboys personnel, the web And I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Zeke's gone over 100 yards once this season so far.
He hasn't. He got close twice.
And he also had some really pivotal.
Don't nobody say that pivotal like you say that pivotal.
Drop passes in this game.
He looked totally unenthused the whole game. Like he didn't want to even be out there. That was an embarrassing showing by Zeke Elliott.
There's something, and a lot of people were high on him coming into this game, particularly.
He's one of the best running backs in football. He should be high on this guy every play of every football game.
Right,
something's not right over there. It's that defense. Not ruined.
It's that defense, bro. 31 should get you the dub. 31 should get you the. Look at these box numbers from their wide receivers, bro. Look, Michael Gallup, 6 catches for 138 yards. He was averaging 23 yards a catch and a touchdown. The kid, number 11, Cedric Wilson.
He had his first 2 catches of his
career. His first 2 catches were touchdowns. He ended the day with 5 catches, 107 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Amari Cooper doing all the damage, 9 catches for 86 yards. You know, CeeDee Lamb, rookie, 5 for 65, and he averaging 13 yards a catch. Dalton Schultz filling in for the other tight end that got hurt, 4 catches on 48 yards. Ezekiel Elliott, 6 catches, 24 yards. How do you not win the game with those numbers in the box? Granted, we know the one big number, the 20 yards on 11 carries, or is it vice versa from Ezekiel Elliott? That we know that's going to play a pivotal role. But look, Dallas gets down in this game pretty early. You can't just be hammering the rock the whole time. You feel me? I think they played the formula to win the game, but the defense is just god awful. Trayvon Diggs is the one standout. With the fumble that he caused, which is going to be one of their best plays of the first 3 games on defense for the Cowboys, he had 9 tackles. He led the team in tackles.
That's not right. That's not. You got a major problem when your cornerback leading the team in tackles. That's like a Washington stat. That's not right.
Yeah, you can't win games like that. And I mean, granted, their offense played pretty well. Dak Prescott with the 2 interceptions, that doesn't look good, and one of them in a key moment when he has that interception. But the numbers look pretty damn good. 37 of 50. You don't want him throwing the ball 57 times. So come on. But it's Mike McCarthy. He was doing that with Aaron Rodgers all day long. 472 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Yeah, that's the difference right there is the 2 picks. I mean, but damn, Dallas got a win last week with 5 fumbles and 2 fake punts.
You got to give credit to Seattle, man. Seattle's amazing. They're awesome. Their offense is great. I mean, Dallas defense, nothing to write home about. But at the same time, I think you got to give some credit to Russell Wilson. Like, they're doing whatever they want, man. Doug Baldwin that was a clinic of route running. That was unbelievable.
But isn't the Cowboys defense is a serious problem?
Serious.
How do we really expect the Cowboys to continue to be able to string together any sort of victories here if their defense continues to play at this sort of level?
If they can't run the ball, go ahead, Awthentik, say it.
I think they got to make a move. I mean, your middle linebacker goes down. He's the best tackler on your whole team. That's going to weigh in on that defense. Their pass rush is not showing up the way it should be. I know a lot of people are down on the Cowboys offensive line this year too, talking about, this ain't the same line of the past years. Well, I mean, Dak Prescott's still getting his man out here. The problem is he's playing from behind in all these games, trying to come back. This defense, I don't know. I think they're going to have to make a move, man. Maybe a trade before the trade deadline, or try to bring in some players. I mean, like, look at how the Giants brought in James Bradberry, and he's an effective player right off the bat. If you can find somebody like that chilling at home right now that you could bring in to get some tackles, I mean, do it, because
I'm here.
The Cowboys, the only thing that they're lacking right now is a defense. That's it.
What's crazy though? Aldon Smith. They went and they picked up Aldon Smith, right? Who hasn't, I don't think he's played in like three years because he's been in and out of the suspension list. He leads the league in sacks this year.
Yeah, he showed up.
You see his stat line?
Week 2
4
when he first came in.
tackles, 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, pass deflected, and he hit the quarterback 4 times. I mean, this guy's like off the couch, best defensive end in football. That's crazy.
So then, what? Monique over here been talking about flags since we started this whole thing. Let me explain something.
Gotta play through that.
The flags are not helping your defense. With or without the flags, your defense has serious holes, and I think it's mostly in your linebacking and your secondary as a whole.
I mean, Monique has a point. 10 flags is too high for a team in a game. 10 flags for 59 yards. Seattle had 5 for 30. I mean, yeah, that's pretty bad. But the turnovers is a big problem. I mean, 1 fumble loss, 2 interceptions. You can't win the game if you're not controlling the clock. Seahawks 27 minutes.
I think you'll notice that is the common theme here with all the teams in NFC East this weekend, and which is why nobody won, because everybody turned the ball over way more than they forced turnovers.
Yeah, that's facts. And the one guy who's getting a lot of flack about the turnovers this past week and having a terrible game is Daniel Jones with a fumble and an interception. He led the league last year with the 18 fumbles, so coming into this year, people are looking for him to clean that up. But it's all over the NFC East. I mean, I think a lot of this bad play is just, one, these new coaches trying to implement new systems. I haven't got a chance to get a really good gauge about how the offense is being ran in Dallas. I loved what Kellen Moore was doing last year over there in the beginning of the year, but seeing Daniel Jones in the Giants offense, I mean, they look confused. You know, it looks like they haven't had a chance to really go over this offense the right way. And the new coaches, I think that's one of the key things in it. I mean, Pat Shurmur was getting a lot of flack in New York as well. They fired him quickly, but the one thing that was happening was Daniel Jones was excelling in the offense. You take that away, you bring in this new Jason Garrett offense, which is predicated on the run. Giants are at the bottom of the league in running. Dallas is not looking good. You look at the 3 top running backs from last year with Saquon Barkley, CMC and Ezekiel Elliott, fantasy-wise, look at them this year. All 3 of those guys are bust when it comes to fantasy within 3 weeks of football.
It would have been nice if you had the number 4 pick and you took Alvin Kamara, or if you overthought the number 4 pick and took Michael Thomas like this guy did, sitting at 0-3 right now.
Yo, and in our league, man, people were low on Alvin Kamara, and Cheadle drafted him off the auto draft, and he just had the highest score in our league. He got the bonus this past week, you know, off auto draft, which got him 3 quarterbacks. So I know people in our league are dumb salty.
That is Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle plays in our
fantasy
league. Just in case anybody was wondering, we're kind of a big deal.
I'm trying to think of, I was like, Hotel Rwanda? I'm trying to think of the Don Cheadle place.
Yeah, Oceans like 11 through 13, Miles Davis. I mean, let's get real. Don Cheadle is the dude.
But let's not eliminate the Cowboys, you know, out of the topic of some of the best teams in this league, because I mean, granted, they did just hang with probably the top 2 team in the NFL in the Seattle Seahawks, right down to the wire. I called it. I said they was going to battle. Zeke Elliott, you got to show up, bro. Your quarterback, he tried. You can see he died on his shield on Sunday. But Zeke Elliott, you got to show up. The wide receivers, they showed up, man. Everything looked good. Defense and running the ball. That's how you win championships, bro.
And that's why I started my whole, you know, layout of the Cowboys and of that game is that there's no question that they're the best team in the NFC East.
Yeah,
I mean, we can all agree on that, right?
I see that. And you know what? One of the main things I think why that is because, look, when it's time to make a play on the offensive side of the ball, at least with the Cowboys, we know where we going, man. They got bona fide stars on that team that make plays. Ezekiel Elliott always coming up with plays. Amari Cooper's always coming up with plays. And Gallup seems to be a guy who's always got multiple catches and over 100 yards now. So when you're looking at the other teams who are struggling in the NFC East, a la the Giants, the Washington football team, and the Eagles, tell me where the weapons are at. You know, Redskins got Terry McLaurin, but that's it. Giants, Darius Slayton looked pretty good last year, just like Terry McLaurin did. But like, if a defense has to just go and scheme and plan against Darius Slayton, Terry McLaurin, and Miles Sanders, I think they're going to come out on top every time in those battles.
And the thing that's crazy is we haven't even talked about that kid. We're just briefly. That kid, and you know me, I know all the real, like,
who we talking about?
The dude, number 11.
Oh yeah, he balled out, man.
Like, I know some obscure players, but I didn't know that guy. And I'm like, who is number 11? This guy is running all over the field. He caught his first 2. That's got to be the first time ever.
He
right?
got a name like a baller too, Cedric Wilson. I knew some Cedrics in my day.
Oh yeah,
run, man. Big Sid. You know? No, but at the end of the game, that last drive, the Cowboys, when they almost came back, Zeke had a big run. It was like a 30-yard run. And he was a little bit gassed. He had to come off. And the last 2 plays before Dak threw the interception, that kid was out there. What's his name? Wilson?
Okay.
Cedric Wilson, yeah.
This is the other thing too. Well, we have to talk about it really briefly. I know everybody in the chat, and I know at least me and Awthentik and I thought that Dak Prescott was about ready to make one of those like those NFL
on the
commercial
last
plays
throw?
on the last throw.
Oh, I thought it. I
Because
definitely thought
he
it.
came out that it was on the ground. He had the hand on the ground. He
Oh,
got
yeah.
up
He
and
rolled out the pocket like
Man.
Eli. It was even more of a difficult scramble to get out than Eli because he got hit.
and he was
falling
he
to
was,
the ground. He
was
put his
on
hand on the ground.
like
Comes back up. I think he made a mistake, though, when he just immediately came up. He saw the pressure and he launched the ball down the field. There was 7 seconds left, right? I think he could have reversed field and bought himself just a little bit more time. But I like the aggressive throw. When he let it go, Tim's just Cowboys hater. When he let go, I saw your face like, oh, here it comes. I'm looking at it like he looked confident. This might be a touchdown. I wanted him to get that win. Dak Prescott getting beat up all day, man. Yo, one thing we got to say about this defense, they forced Russell Wilson and them to punt the ball 7 times. Come on, man. We got to get a win out of that. The Cowboys should have won that game.
Okay, so listen, that's crazy. How you punt the ball 7 times and score as many points as they did? That's
It's
crazy.
ridiculous. And the Cowboys only punted
That's
3 times, but the
crazy.
3 turnovers, that kind of matches up to those 7 punts. You don't got no turnovers on the other side. Oh, actually, had 1 turnover from Seattle. They had a fumble that got lost. But, yeah, I mean, that
They
wins the
had
game
some
for you.
stats, man. I mean, Dallas got 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, knocked down 3 passes. They hit Russell Wilson 8 times. So it's like if they weren't forcing punts or getting sacks, they were giving up touchdowns. It was just all or nothing, it seems like.
I like that pun. That was good.
All right, quick commercial break. We got to get moving. We're going to be Washington's recap next, so stick with us. The Beards Washington football team fell to Cleveland Browns with 34-20, dropping Washington to 1-2 on the season. But as the Beard will point out, still good enough for first place. Washington, for the second week in a row, actually had a lead in the fourth quarter. They were up 20-17. Then the Browns' 2-headed rushing attack, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, took the game over, combined with Dwayne Haskins' interception/fumbles. He had a really bad game. 3 interceptions total. Lost a fumble. His footwork was atrocious. The way it's looking, he looks like this is day one to me. This looks like a day one quarterback with his footwork and accuracy. I lost a lot of hype on the Dwayne Haskins train from what I saw. We got a lot of games to go. He's still young in his career, but let's just say I wasn't excited about what I saw. The Beard, we'll start with you, man. How do you feel about the Washington losing and Dwayne Haskins? Come on, what's going on?
Well, all right. So first of all, I want to make it clear that I am still a believer in Dwayne Haskins, okay? And this was only his 10th start as an NFL quarterback. Not to mention he started what? How many
12
many
games at Ohio State,
exactly,
I think.
okay? So, he's still growing, and not everybody is going to be, out the gate sort of guy. He's learning his third or fourth offense here since he's been playing quarterback at a high level. And that's not going to be easy. But what I am going to say is yes, there are some things that he needs to work on. Obviously, everybody knows, who watches the Washington football team, who critiques the Washington football team, is one of the major things is his footwork. He's just not getting set when he does see somebody open. He's not getting set. He's throwing a lot, not necessarily throwing a lot on his back foot, but he's not planting his feet properly, setting himself up for the right pass. And in this game, he did a lot of the things that people wanted him to do in the previous weeks. They were concerned about these slow starts, and they went out to and shout out to Scott Turner because he did change the offensive game plan a little bit here, right? We wanted to see them come out with a little bit more faster paced offense, and they did that, and they were successful. We got on the board early, we got on the board quick. We never dug ourselves into a hole here. Now, and if you look at the film, he really did well when he was doing well. Okay, so when I say that, I mean when he was making his progression reads, he was doing it really well, okay? But when he wasn't doing the progression reads,
I got you.
He was staring down his receivers and throwing the interceptions.
The good was really good, but the bad was really bad. Okay, I got you.
And so work should not be a down-to-down thing, man. A 3-step drop and a 5-step drop. Stay a 3-step drop and a 5-step drop.
No, I understand that, but you have to understand it's under the pressure.
I don't mean to interject, but I think when he's talking footwork, he's also talking about how his feet are underneath him when he's making the throws too. Not necessarily just hitting the back foot and throwing it. 3-step drop, hit the third and drop it. I think he's more just talking about like the parallel feet when he's throwing. I don't know if you've noticed this habit with Haskins. What he's doing to not step up in the pocket is he's throwing it and then keeping his feet parallel. But here's the thing. A lot of quarterbacks in the NFL who are very successful get away with bad footwork all the time. Patrick Mahomes does it. Russell Wilson does it. Aaron Rodgers does it. I've even seen Daniel Jones roll to the right and throw it all the way back to the left and complete it. So if you have the skill set to do it, you can do that. And I think because Haskins coming out of college had so much success, there's a lot of football that you just rely on instinct. And he's doing that in the pocket, and it reminds me of Serge. Shout out to Serge, man. When Serge was in high school at Einstein, it was one of his biggest problems, throwing off his feet imbalanced or unbalanced. Just keep patting. Very like you at the park. With Haskins, man, I don't think he's ever going to change that. But you want to see him start just making the throws and making the plays with the feet looking terrible. That's what I'd like to see out of him.
And the other thing is too is you have to look at the drives, the scoring drives that he led them on. I believe he was 3 of 5, 4 of 6, and 4 of 6 on those 3 scoring drives that he led them on, which is huge. Like when they asked him to be in the clutch, he was in the clutch. His problem is he has to, look, you can't continuously blame the offensive line, right? You have to understand what you have with your offensive line, okay? So mentally, you have to be in your head like, okay, I'm probably only going to have 3 seconds, even though I wish I had 5 seconds. So you might have to just look through your reads a little bit faster. And don't necessarily always – his reaction is what bothers me. Like a lot of it reminds me of watching Patrick Ramsey and watching Jason Campbell. Like it's just like you see those sort of similarities where like you see the talent and you see them make the throws when they have the time, right? But in their head – they think that they're running out of time before they actually are running out of time. And obviously in this game, it was definitely the biggest issue of this game was staring down the receivers. Now, in a positive note of all of this, you have to think about it. He's kind of piecing things together. So it's like there's a few things that are still lingering, right? But you see him not necessarily making some of the same mistakes week in and week out, but making new mistakes in the next week, right?
It feels a bit expected too. He doesn't jump off the chart like he should be like this precise quarterback.
Yeah, and this is the thing is that like it's just it hasn't all come together yet. And for Washington football, but for Washington football team fans, like, are we really gonna just throw everything away? Like, I mean, bringing in Kyle Allen isn't gonna change anything.
And the quarterback play is who's gonna get blamed first. But I got into a heated argument this past week about it. Like the quarterback's just gonna get blamed. That's just what it is. Yeah, but every team who's dealing with bad quarterback play right now, tell me they weapons, man. They ain't got none. That's the problem. You look at Gardner Minshew, he's having trouble too right now because he don't got that many weapons at wide receiver. And with
that
Haskins,
was his first bad game. He had 6 touchdown passes in the first 2. So
he's near the top of the league in interceptions, bro. Go back to last year. He was at the top of the league in fumbles. When we get to that Giants breakdown, I got a hell of a quarterback breakdown for y'all. Gardner Minshew looks good, yeah, and the league likes him. He's got the moxie, right? But just look at the numbers, man. They're not that drastically different. He's just more precise. That's the thing. I will give him that. With Haskins, he's got way less weapons. No running game. The Redskins are at the bottom of the league as far as running goes. The wide receivers, you got Terry. That's it. Who's he going to throw to? If you imagine this Washington football team actually being successful, do you imagine it with this personnel on the offensive side of the ball?
Definitely not.
Right. No. Gotta make some moves.
And this is the thing, too. The Washington football team wins this game, no questions about it, if they don't turn the ball over 5 times.
You look at the box score, man. The first downs were exactly the same. Third down, exactly the same. Fourth down, exactly the same. Total plays, they literally both ran 62 plays. Yeah. Sacks allowed 3-2. Punts 3-5. Yo, that's literally the turnovers is the game. And I don't have the interceptions from Dwayne Haskins right off the top of my mind right now exactly. I got to go look at those plays because those are the keys to the victory right there.
And those interceptions, usually as a quarterback, there's a few, if you're throwing that many interceptions in a game, there's a few that are, a tip pass or miscommunication. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that none of those interceptions were not Dwayne Haskins' fault because all of those interceptions were Dwayne Haskins' fault.
One, now some are coming back to my mind, actually. The one on 4th down, he's trying to make a play there. I believe it's the tight end coming across the middle, and he just short threw the ball. It looked like he thought the tight end was going to come in front of the defender. Instead, the tight end went behind the defender. His pass was a little bit low in the ground, and defender scoops that up and gets the interception. That's the only one I can remember.
And the other one, too, the one where Logan Thomas was running the go and seam route, where he kind of like overthrew him a little bit. On that instance, if he lets him run the route out a little bit more, like, you know, before he releases the ball, then he kind of can release it more towards the sideline, you know, still away from the defender, but not necessarily trying to get it before he makes that cut out of the route. You know, just little things like that. Like, it's when I watch him play and I watch the mistakes that he makes, it's not necessarily the mistakes where you're just like, good, this guy, you know, like I've seen quarterback play like that in my time. You know, I've seen Rex Gross.
Touted draft pick back in the day that y'all had a quarterback, white boy. Heath
Schuler.
He had some bad football underneath his belt. And Rex Grossman, when he was in Washington, it was some really bad football going on with him. I'll tell you what, though, man, the game plan for the Washington Redskins needs to be simple every week. Every week. Get the ball to Terry McLaurin, man. Get the ball to Terry McLaurin. Look at this stat right here. Terry McLaurin averages 11.2 yards after the catch. It's the best in the NFL among any wide receiver who has at least 15 catches. He's at 11.2 yards after the catch. What do you think the next closest is?
8.3.
It's 6.8 with Cooper Kupp, 6.5 with Robbie Anderson, 6.3 with CeeDee Lamb, and 6.3 with Juju Smith-Schuster. Get my man the ball. I don't care if we got to run reverse passes, flea flickers, the annexation of Puerto Rico. I don't care. Get this man the ball. If you want to have a chance offensively to win any kind of games, you need to get Terry McLaurin the ball because there are no other weapons on that side of the ball for the Washington football team. Y'all have no running backs. We're hoping for this young boy to come out here and really have a strong game.
He only ran the ball 9 times.
But he's not getting the carries. And that's because, I know you said, Tim, that y'all haven't been shooting yourselves in the foot that much, but it's happened every week. This is the 3rd week in a row that the Washington has faced a deficit of more than a touchdown at halftime. The Giants know all about that. I feel like every game we're spotting the team 10 points. And even when our defense is doing well, like we did against Chicago last week, we stopped them in the red zone on the first 2 opportunities that they got off turnovers. So it was a 6-0 game instead of a 14-0 game. It's still not enough for a bad team. These little stops where you're stopping them from scoring touchdowns in the red zone, even that's not going to help a bad team. You need to not let these teams get in position to score. Washington has to take care of the ball and get the ball to Terry McLaurin, man. His numbers show that he is a bona fide number 1. I'm starting to see him take off in that class as far as the wide receivers go. And Darius Slayton falling way behind. Darius Slayton is not a guy you can rely on and run your game plan through, but Terry McLaurin is.
And before I even touch, I just wanted to touch on a couple other things on the defensive side of the ball, and then we'll get to this question, and then I don't really have anything else to say about my Washington football team, but Montez Sweat, I think I got to show some love to Montez Sweat because I think he had his best game as a member of the Washington football team this week, and he really needed to step up because Chase Young went out with the groin injury.
Big time.
And I believe Chase Young is already ruled out for this week. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's the case. And we lost Matt Ioannidis for the season. We did sign Nate Orchard, who performed well in some spot relief at the end of last season. So looking for him to step up. But this is the situation with any sort of team. Like, it's next man up. No excuses, next man up. Like, how are we going to play? This is what we have to do. Missed tackles on the defensive side of the ball was a huge issue. Yeah. Landon Collins, he's good, but he's getting paid to be great. I need to see more out of Landon Collins.
Speaking of Landon Collins, the backup safety, I think you guys might want to move that kid to free safety. Cameron Kerr.
Oh, Cameron Kerr. Yeah, he's been playing good.
He's coming in and getting snaps at strong safety, and every time I saw him on the field, he looked good. He's a 7th-round pick, which is crazy. But he had 7 on the season. He has 7 tackles and 2 of those for negative yardage. I like how he's coming up and stopping the run. Apke had a less I'm getting torched kind of game this past week.
He wasn't as bad. But
if you need help in the secondary, this kid might be the guy who's next up.
Collins put on that extra weight in the offseason. He's too big and bulky. He's slow now. I mean, he's obviously still athletic. He's a professional football player, but at the same time, he's missing tackles. His angles are terrible. I mean, if Landon Collins wants to play safety, you got to lose weight, buddy. Or if you want, keep the weight on, come play linebacker because we got holes all over. You can play whatever you want to play. He'd be a phenomenal linebacker.
What do you think about this question, Scotty Boomz? How is Haskins pre-snap making adjustments and picking up blitzes?
It's a great time actually now with no fans in the stands because you can really hear what's going on. I can't remember ever hearing Dwayne Haskins audible out of a play or call out a blitz or anything. My man is dead silent, hut, snap. That's it. He doesn't look confident in what he's doing. And if you watched him at Ohio State, before the snap, he was looking to the sideline of Urban Meyer getting the plays in. So he's not a guy who's used to dominating a huddle, maybe ever in his career. So, like, the Beard was saying, you got to give him some slack on that. But at the same time, I'm just not seeing progression. I'm not seeing progression. These guys
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Haskins, the offense is not set up for him to make a lot of reads, especially going into week 3, because you heard everybody, every radio station, and I think it started right here on Awthentik and the Beard, run the offense at a fast tempo. Okay, that is the game plan for Dwayne Haskins to win and excel. So really, it's 3-step drops, and you're going to be staring down wide receivers. It's when that's not open when you got to make a play. But I think they're looking to go at the number 1 target for the football team is in. And when he does have to make second and third reads, it's not great. We talked about it, Tim. We saw a couple times where he had to make the third read, and he threw the ball away, and he made the good play. But that stuff's not going to show up well on your stat sheet.
On the touchdown pass to Inman, that was his third read on that play.
Yeah, unfortunate for him, too. He was showing out this game. He only had like 3 or 4 catches, but he had the 2 touchdowns, right? Inman?
Yeah.
I think he got hurt, though, at the end of the game. And he had a major penalty after one of those catches where it cost him 15 yards for like taunting after the play too. So now you're looking at an injury from one of your maybe other weapons that you could have seen maybe come in here and help Terry McLaurin do some things. But yeah, I mean, for Dwayne Haskins, it's not much to read, you know? It's when things are breaking down. But I think we need to see a little bit more of what I was saying 2 weeks ago, some pre-snap motion and some crossing going on in the routes. You know, I saw some play, Tim, on Red Zone where there was a screen, an obvious screen from another wide receiver on a defender that freed up another wide receiver open on that team, and they didn't call it. Well, maybe the Redskins need to start running plays like that where we're getting some pick plays, short 3-yard slants with a pick on one backside to get wide receivers open. But right now it's not looking good. You don't got a lot of weapons that are just beating their man one-on-one off the ball to get the quick slant for Haskins to be able to make that throw on the first read anyway.
And I just sorry, my bad, Booms, but also wanted to say that it was encouraging to see them utilize all of the young wide receivers in different capacities this Sunday. That right kid, he showed up and played, you know, and he hadn't played much in the first couple of games. And they had him running the ball. He was catching passes. I think he was returning kicks. You know, Gandy Golden had that nice end-around run, but he got lit, boy. I don't know if you saw that.
His name a lot though. Since you spotted him out, he's definitely been doing his thing. The young youth in the wide receiver core with the Washington Redskins or Washington football team, I mean, it's something to look forward to in the future. If you could bring in somebody who's a stud to go along with all these young guys, maybe in 2 years you got yourself a really good core.
Yeah, absolutely true. All right, anything else you want to add on, Beard, before we move on?
We're still in first place.
All right. Dwayne Haskins, he's completing 56% of his passes on the year for 6.2 yards of completion. Those numbers are both worse than they were last year, so he's not moving in the right direction. The second, well, I guess actually the worst team in the NFC East since Philadelphia got a tie. Awthentik's New York Giants lost to San Francisco. It was a 36-9 shellacking. The backup quarterback for the Niners, Nick Mullins, have yourself a day, young man. 25 of 36, 343, and he had a touchdown. They weren't dominating the Giants in any one aspect of the game, but it was just like a slow, brutal beating where every drive they were going, they were getting points. They were forcing Daniel Jones into turnovers again. He had the weirdest fumble. I don't know what it was, like a shovel pass to Evan Ingram in the first quarter on the first drive that looked like a workout, but terrible pass. He had 2 turnovers overall. San Fran's not the team you can turn the ball over against and expect to come out with a W. Awthentik, man, I'm just going to leave it right there for you. Go ahead and take us away.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to do a lot of talking here. The fumble, let me just address that fumble real quick.
What was that?
They all looked confused, and that was what I was talking about earlier with not having, like, this offense really, you know, under wrap for Daniel Jones. He doesn't quite understand what's going on. He's not quite a leader yet on this offense because they haven't had time to really develop this playbook. Hold on, this beat is a little too nice for what's going on right now. It's just a little too nice. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
it's just a little too nice. All right. So let's just break this down. And y'all stay with me. If y'all got any questions in the chat, chime in. Tim, if y'all got any questions, y'all need to stop me. I'm going to be
Before you
ham.
go, I have to say, when I walked in, Awthentik looked like he was studying for the bar exam. Like he
like 3 screens, 2 notebooks.
I've been waiting to hear this.
Pocket protector.
Put him on the full screen, man.
I was ready. That was the last word.
I got my theories, man. I got my theories. Chime in as you guys would like to, okay?
1.
So the Giants, this offense is terrible. We know Daniel Jones is not playing well. The Giants have scored 38 points in 3 weeks. That's second lowest in the NFL to the Jets. The 49ers just put up 36 on us with their JV, and we have only put up 38 points in this whole season in 3 weeks. That's garbage coming from the Giants right there. Ownership needs to address that immediately. The 49ers offense had 0 punts. That's the first time since 1996. 0 punts, 0 turnovers, and they averaged 2.7 yards a carry. How can you blow out a team averaging 2.7 yards a carry? Well, I'll tell you, you put Nick Mullins at quarterback for 343 yards and a touchdown from Nick Mullins. Who is this kid? Okay, so now this Giants offense, we're seeing it's been bad in this new system. I'm talking about COVID with the Redskins. It's played its role, but with Daniel Jones and this Giants offense migrating from the Pat Shurmur system to the Jason Garrett system, it's garbage in both systems. It looked better in the Pat Shurmur system, but I'm starting to realize the Giants have been set up for failure because of the personnel on this roster. This roster is not it. When you look at the playmakers on this roster, I was just saying this about the Redskins or the Washington football team. I'm going to keep saying it, formerly known as the Redskins. You know, they had the same problem. They don't have enough people who can make plays. So when it's time to just go one-on-one and make the play, the Giants don't got it. Daniel Jones was averaging 6 yards per passing attempt. That's dismal. 17 of 32 for 179 yards, an interception, a fumble that I'm not going to put the fumble on Daniel Jones because the pitch was a little shaky, but Evan Ingram needs to dive on that ball. So I'm not looking at a fumble problem in this game per se. But the interception, another interception, a bonehead interception this week. All of Daniel Jones' interceptions this year come on passes that are less than 10 yards. What is going on when you're throwing all these interceptions less than 10 yards? We're not even attacking them down the field. We're not even using Darius Slayton the way he should really look on this field. Kind of looks like the old Eli from 2018, 2019, doesn't it? Eli was running around like a chicken with his head cut off, kneeling on the ground like Peyton Manning taught him back in the day. When the pressure gets there, you better get on the ground. And Daniel Jones might want to start doing the same thing because he's taking a lot of sacks and he's turning the ball over just way too much. And a lot of it has to do with the pressure. In 2019, Daniel Jones led all quarterbacks in fumbles with 18 fumbles. And look at these quarterbacks who were right behind him in that race. Carson Wentz, 17. We don't hear too much about the Carson Wentz fumble issue, but he only had 1 fumble less than Daniel Jones last year. MVP top candidate right now, Josh Allen. He had 16 fumbles last year. Nobody's talking about that kid fumbling because the Buffalo Bills are winning games and they got good defense and a decent running game.
How many games did Danny Dimes start last year, though? I mean, you're talking about guys that started full seasons.
13 games, and all those guys started full seasons. In 13 games, Daniel did that. So they got the 3-game buffer. I'll give you that. Gardner Minshew, I don't think he started every game. He had 13 fumbles last year. Kirk Cousins and Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is actually the perfect model for this because he's had problems getting sacked his whole career. He led the league a couple years ago in getting sacked, and he had 11 fumbles last year himself. He's another guy that the offensive line is not protecting him. And what else is he missing over there? Running backs. They've had problems running the ball since they had D-Hop over there, and he was putting up big numbers in the passing game. So all these guys who are in this fumble situation, to me, are all solid quarterbacks. Gardner Minshew, Carson Wentz, Josh Allen, Kirk Cousins, and Deshaun Watson. These are the top 5 of quarterbacks who are fumbling the ball last year. I think we can take the fumbles. But there's one thing that they all have in common is they're all really young. They all got thrown to the Wolves early. So when you take these young quarterbacks and you throw them to the Wolves early, don't expect them all to be a Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is playing behind a defense that's ranked number 11, and he's got every weapon. He's got Pro Bowl weapons at every position. He might have the fastest guy at every position in the league. Me and Tim was talking about this off camera. Now, let's talk about this Giants turnover trend. Some more, okay? We're about a third way through for the chat. Hang with me, all right? we know Daniel Jones needs to take care of the ball, bottom line. Okay, you can't turn over the ball. But from 2010 to 2015, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Drew Brees were all the leaders in turning the ball over, and 2 of those players had Super Bowls during that time. All right? So the Giants have been dealing with the turnovers for, we could say, 20 years. We could take it all the way back to Kerry Collins. You know where Kerry Collins is as far as top fumbles career? He's 4th.
Of all
time, till this day. Kerry Collins fumbled the ball 139 times in his career. Coming off of the Super Bowl appearance in 2000, when he came back 2001, he had 23 fumbles in 2001. That's why we saw him out of here in a couple years after that. But Kerry Collins was a serviceable quarterback during that time. The thing that all these quarterbacks have in common is that they're always on the field. It's not a lot of quarterbacks that actually get to play as much as these guys I just named, the Drew Breeses, the Eli Mannings. So I think we need to stop comparing these young developing quarterbacks to the greats of the last 2 decades, okay? Those greats being guys like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, and Big Ben, okay? These are the guys who have won Super Bowls in the past 20 years. In the past 20 seasons, outside of those names, the only people to win Super Bowls, listen to this, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Nick Foles, Eli Manning, Brad Johnson, Joe Flacco, and come on, man. We know quarterback is an important thing in the NFL, but quarterback play starts with everybody else around you. If you don't got no weapons around you, you're not going to make waves at the quarterback position, so you better have a great defense behind you, and you better be able to run the ball, okay? Quarterbacks are hard to come by. Now, this is probably my key category about the New York Giants. Let's talk about this rushing attack, or lack thereof, okay? It is clear through 3 games the Giants have the worst rushing attack in football. We're averaging 3.2 yards per carry, last in the NFL. We're averaging 56.7 rushing yards a game, last in the NFL. We're averaging 53 rushing attempts per game, last in the NFL. We're averaging 171 total rushing yards through 3 games, last in the NFL, okay? 1 rushing touchdown in 3 games, tied for last in the NFL. Our longest run this year has gone 23 yards.
Last in the NFL?
It's 3rd to last in the NFL, okay? Against the 49ers, 1.7 yards per rush. Y'all wondering why Daniel Jones is playing terrible? What's up, Scotty?
What
How
up?
you living, bro? You wondering? Tim switched it to you, so I had to call you out. So you wondering why Daniel Jones is struggling? 1.7, come on, bro. Out of 3 running backs, we knew Devonta Freeman wasn't going to come in here and just start balling out and give you a 100-yard game coming off the streets. That wasn't going to happen. But they didn't even get the carries this week. Andrew Thomas has given up the most pressures by any left tackle in the NFL. That's per Pro Football Focus. Sacks ain't everything in the NFL because I want to say he's only given up 1 sack. Okay? Now, if we talk about those other quarterbacks, those young guys I was talking about earlier, okay? They all are dealing with the exact same problems. The Giants are 32nd in rushing yards per game at 56, like I said. Behind them is the Texans, 66 yards per game. Behind them, the Bengals, 79.3 yards a game. Behind them, the Broncos, 29th at 84 yards a game. Behind them, the Jets, 88 yards a game. Behind them, the Bucks. Tom Brady is the only guy you can lump in with all these young boys that's playing bad, but Tom Brady is the oldest quarterback, maybe the oldest player in the NFL. It's kind of expected as he goes to a new team, new system. 26th in the league is the Panthers, which is so surprising to me, but their quarterbacks are lacking run this year. I told you already, the 3 biggest busts are Ezekiel Elliott, CMC, and Saquon Barkley. 25th, your Washington football team at 100 yards per game, which that'd be good if that was coming out of 1 back, okay? Now, let's talk about these leaders. Hang with me, Scotty. Hang with me, right? Let's talk about these leaders in the fumbles. Dwayne Haskins leads the league in fumbles right now with 4, along with Derek Carr. They both tied. Carson Wentz, Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, Drew Lock, Gardner Minshew, and your MVP from last season, Lamar Jackson, fumbling the ball. What do they all have in common? They all young. They all young quarterbacks. You got to give them time to develop. I've already been seeing people calling for Carson Wentz's job. I've been seeing people calling for Daniel Jones' job. Daniel Jones has barely played 20 games. You know, they're calling for Dwayne Haskins, who Tim just told you hasn't even played 13 games yet. Why are we calling for these kids' jobs? Did you think that they were going to come in here and lead their teams to a 10-6 victory like I called for the New York Giants? Optimistically, no, we did not.
You did.
We were hoping. I mean, y'all know what it is, how I called that, and that was like out of hope. You didn't see that as a serious take. I made it very clear. I made it very clear. I was hoping that would happen. And then when you see 3 weeks of your team, you know what's going on with your team after 3 weeks, especially when you're last in every running category in the NFL. So minus Tom Brady, the youth of the league right now is struggling. They talking about Joe Burrow doing all these great things. Yeah, he's getting the yards, he's getting some touchdowns, but he's up there in fumbles, he's up there in interceptions. Hence why his team's not winning. And Joe Mixon is struggling to run the ball. I think he's 2.9 yards a carry on a year. Okay. Wow. So minus Tom Brady, like I said, these are all young quarterbacks that are struggling. Now, I got into some arguments this week about Daniel Jones, and I even heard somebody bring up, but Trent Dilfer took care of the ball. Why can't he? Okay, let's go back to that season. Trent Dilfer started in 8 games in that Super Bowl run. Tony Banks started in the other 8. Trent Dilfer had 11 interceptions and 8 fumbles in 8 games. Oof. If he didn't have the best defense in NFL history, that probably wasn't going to be a Super Bowl run for them. So don't come to me with the exception to the rule type stuff, trying to apply that to the real rules, okay? And the real rules are defense wins championships. I don't care what nobody say. And I know y'all going to like this stat, okay? Speaking of dead last too, the Giants are dead last in third down conversions. Defense stopping teams on third down, we're dead last. Teams are converting at a 58% rate. That's just not going to cut it. Tim, we're not going to get there with that.
Not going to get there.
Third down, 58%. You mean to tell me on third down, I got a 42% chance that my team's going to stop them. That's just not going to work ever. Now, since the Super Bowl era started, Daddies wasn't born in 1966. That go way back. Only 4 times has a Super Bowl winner not had a top 15 defense. Come on. You know who got it twice? Eli Manning. Come on, bro. It never happened until 2006, where a defense that was outside of the top 15 won a Super Bowl. It never happened until 2006. Drew Brees and what? Excuse me?
15 and what?
Top 15 defenses.
What? Yeah, give me what's the stat though? I mean, there's a statistic, right? What
this is yards. This is yards per game.
Okay,
that's the number one statistic in ranking defenses. By the way, for those of y'all who don't know, because I had to look that up today when I was doing my bar exam study. Shout out to Royce the 5'9". Now, so I'll repeat that. Since the Super Bowl era, 1966, only 4 teams, including Patrick Mahomes, who had a top 15 defense last year. Only 4 teams have had a defense that was outside of the top 15. So don't tell me that defense does not win championships. Even though we are migrating into a passing style type league, yeah, defense is still winning championships. Peyton Manning's Colts in 2006 was the first team to ever do that without a defense in the top 15. Drew Brees in 2009 and Eli Manning in 2007 and in 2011. They talk about those defenses where the defenses that Eli was riding to the championship, well, they weren't top 15 defenses, okay? So those are key statistics for me. Now, I also think another key statistic that you see with teams that are common in the playoffs are takeaways, because turnovers is one thing. If you got a quarterback that's turning the ball over, that's one thing. But if your defense can force turnovers and you can keep that differential in the turnovers to be a little bit more on the positive side, there's teams that have still managed to make the playoffs and make it to the Super Bowl. I'll just date it back to 2019 because I'm on these numbers today. I knew that the Giants running game was the number 1 reason why we aren't winning games, and I knew the defense was the number 2 reason why. Last year, of the top teams in takeaways, Pittsburgh, number 1, New England, number 2, Minnesota, number 3, San Fran, number 4, Seattle, number 5, Tampa Bay, number 6, Jameis Winston. Come on. Let's just put Tampa Bay out of this, right? The Rams, they were number 7 in takeaways. Tennessee Titans were number 8 in takeaways. Baltimore Ravens, number 9 in takeaways. And the Indianapolis Colts were number 10 in takeaways, but I just think it was some bad luck why they didn't make it to the playoffs. But of those 10 teams, man, 8 of them were in the playoffs last year, bro. So we know defense has got to take the ball away from the offense. Hence why Dak Prescott couldn't get the win this week. And hence why the Giants are struggling. If you can't run the ball, you can't force turnovers, you can't win games with young quarterbacks. It's no way it's going to happen. The Giants, the Texans, the Bengals, the Broncos, the Eagles, the Jets, they're all winless because of that. That's it. The Giants are poo. This season is a wrap. Everyone talking about tanking for Trevor Lawrence. I don't want to hear that, man. No quarterback just comes in and changes the dynamic of a team. The last time that you really saw a rebuild around a quarterback was the Indianapolis Colts with Andrew Luck. And that's why I say it takes a little bit of luck, because that's the only team that really got it done. And their offense never really looked that great, but the Indianapolis Colts keep some good running backs. And that defense wasn't that great. And I think that's why you saw the struggles with him. And a lot of the pressure was put on Andrew Luck. And the dude was getting beat up, taking hits, just like all these quarterbacks are in the NFC East. All I'm saying is this. I heard Colin Cowherd say this morning. He said, yo, when you buy a new car off the lot, when it's time to change the new oil, when it's time to change the spark plugs, you don't just go buy a new car. What happened to trying to just work things out and make things work for a team instead of trying to just dismiss what's not working on your team? Because if you keep dismissing, you see what's happened with the Giants. We got 3 coaches and 2 GMs in the past 6 years and 2 quarterbacks. That is not a winning formula to keep trying to just rotate quarterback in, rotate quarterback out. Everybody think it's a quarterback-driven type league. Yeah, it is, but you got to run the ball first, and you got to stop teams, and you need to get takeaways. Defenses that get takeaways, those are the teams that are going to be in the mix when it gets cold out here. All this flashy offense, when it's time for your flashy offense to not be able to convert on third down, that defense better be making stops. And here in New York, we have the worst rushing team in the NFL, and we have the worst defense on third down. I don't know who was coming up. I like how I said that. Who? That's how Scotty be saying who. I don't know who said the Giants was a top 5 defense going into week 3. And I don't know what statistics they're using, but they need to scratch that because this Giants defense is awful. The only playmaker I really see on the defensive side of the ball with the Giants is Blake Martinez and newly acquired James Bradbury. Everybody else has been quiet. Marcus Golden has been so quiet this year, I don't even know if he's been on the field. X-Man, he's been super quiet. I don't even know if he's been on the field. The only hope I see for this Giants team is, when Bill Parcells, a couple weeks ago on the podcast too, when Bill Parcells came and he got the job by default because somebody else declined the job. He didn't even want the Giants job because the 70s New York Giants were terrible. And a lot of the OGs in the Giants community, Cop Pizzle, one of them, Bad Dog, who have seen some of those teams, and they talked about those late 70s New York Giants teams going into the 80s. They're saying that these are the worst New York Giants that they have ever seen. And the statistics show it. Granted, we're only 3 weeks in. I'm not going to jump the gun. Our schedule gets a little bit easier after week 4. We got the Rams next week. And after that, we got 2 games against the Redskins and 2 games against the Eagles. We better capitalize on those games. We play the Bengals because we got some other tough games coming up against the Bucks, the Seahawks, a few other games that I'm looking at them as like, chalk them up. We're not winning those games. So the Giants, there's room for improvement. But playoffs, we can't be thinking about nothing like that until we get this running game clicking. And Jason Garrett, man, we got to get it together. We really got to get it together. I don't know what's going on with this running game, but Saquon Barkley was there for the first 2 weeks, and we look like straight garbage. I don't even think Saquon had positive yards in week 1. Maybe it was 3 yards or something like that. But the Giants got to get that running game going. If we ever want to get back to our championship caliber where we had Amon Bradshaw, Brandon Jacobs running this rock heavy. Oh, and one last thing I want to talk about. They like to compare Eli to Daniel Jones, right? Because Eli Manning was pretty much average statistically throughout his career, but when it came time to win games in the clutch, Eli Manning knew what he was doing, okay? Now, Daniel Jones' weapons in comparison to Eli Manning, this one came up in the chat, Tim, in our football chat this week, and nobody really wanted to talk about it. I don't know why, because I thought it was an interesting stat. If you look at Eli Manning when he came into the league, going into his second season, his weapons, he had Plaxico Burress, Omani Toomer, Jeremy Shockey, and Tiki Barber. Jeremy Shockey in his prime, coming off his best season. In Eli's second year, that was Jeremy Shockey's second best season of his whole career. Look at those weapons in comparison to what Daniel Jones got over here. And let's minus Saquon Barkley at this moment. Dion Lewis, Golden Tate, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, and Evan Ingram. We can't compare Daniel Jones to Eli Manning. He don't got the weapons, as I was saying about Daniel Haskins. Give these quarterbacks some time before you judge them and write them off. They're both first-round draft picks for a reason. Teams scouted these 2 quarterbacks. They were both highly touted. Daniel Jones coming out of a small school like Duke that ran a professional-style offense over there. We knew that teams were looking at both of these quarterbacks. They're not bums. We got to put the right players around them. Football is a circumstantial thing. I've seen great quarterbacks struggle their whole career, and they put up numbers. Look at Matthew Stafford putting up numbers all the time, but he can't win. So give these quarterbacks the time. If we're going to give Matthew Stafford the time, let's give Dwayne Haskins the time. Let's give Daniel Jones the time. Both these quarterbacks don't even got 2 seasons underneath their belt. And rant over. Just tell me, how, Sway, how are the Giants playing this awful?
You don't have the answer, Sway. Beard, man. Last week you were saying the wide receiver for the Niners, Brandon Ayuk, was a guy to look out for. He had 100 total yards and a touchdown, did his thing. San Fran, you got to be impressed. Second unit coming out, destroying. It is the Giants, but still, domination of a team with your second team unit is pretty impressive. What'd you see from the Niners?
Coaching. That's all I got for that, because I'm pretty sure that all of us were on the same page when we were looking forward to this game. Like, we thought, this was an opportunity for the Giants to take advantage of a depleted San Francisco team. But the coaching staff got them. I mean, the coaching staff got them to play. But you have to think about it. After everything that Awthentik just said, it's like, yeah, the coaching staff got the 49ers to play, but how much of it was just how poorly the Giants played and how poorly the Giants are as a team right now in comparison to what San Francisco did? Because, I mean, Nick Mullins had the most passing yards. No, Dak ended up beating him. But at one point towards the end of the 4:00 window games, Nick Mullins was the leading passer yardage-wise on Sunday. Like, that's just...
If you look at Nick Mullins, too, in relief, go look at his career stats. I was humbly surprised at that kid's stats because he's been over there now in that same system for 2 years. Because is it 2 or 3 years Kyle Shanahan been over there? 3 years now? I want to say 3 years.
3 years.
I think it's 3 years. And Nick Mullins been the backup throughout the whole time. He's been there for 4 years. And you look at those numbers, he puts up numbers, man. That dude might have just bought him way into a job next season.
It's quite possible.
Because Garoppolo, they ain't going to bench Garoppolo. This ain't Chicago.
I mean,
number 10.
These rookie wide receivers, you see, I got it right, Nets. There was some studs this week. I don't know if y'all, I know we already talked about it in the league, but I'm going to throw this out there since we talked about Brandon Ayuk. Justin Jefferson, who I was high on out of LSU, what do you have, 175 yards receiving on Sunday for the Vikings? Something crazy like that. So, yeah, I mean, with wide receivers and running backs, it's a lot easier to step on the field and be able to perform right away as opposed to, I think, quarterbacks. I just think that's a fact of the game. So
yeah, facts. A lot of rookie wide receivers come in and ball out. You got to shout out CeeDee Lamb, who's immediately, his effect is shown immediately. And now that Dallas offense is even more high powered than they were to begin with drafting Gallup last year.
It's going to be an interesting next week for the NFC East.
We'll see how it goes. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Nobody can ever win. We got trivia coming up next, so hang tight with us. Or just the beat. All right, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I got 3 questions for the fellas. This is Awthentik and the Beard presents Trivia Time.
Oh, let's get this trivia music.
And just a quick announcement. We are only a couple weeks away from the Week 6 giveaway for Trivia Time. But, we can't start trivia without the trivia music because it's the best trivia music on YouTube.
What are we giving away?
We're going to do another jersey.
Sweet.
Yeah, we're going to do another jersey for that Giants-Redskins matchup. I posted on my Facebook today, man. I really missed that tailgate, man. I'm going to really miss that one this year. And Mark Kukowski chimed in on it and talked about how next year it'll probably be the biggest and best Giants-Redskins tailgate, Giants and Washington football team. And hopefully they got a new name by then.
And if you guys who are new subscribers have not seen, I suggest you go back and watch the episode of Awthentik and the Beard where Scotty Boomz, Awthentik, and myself were live from FedEx Field.
Oh, yeah, that was a good episode, man.
That is a great episode. There is some really funny trivia on that live tailgating episode of Awthentik and the Beard. So go check that out.
That was the first time we did trivia, I think, too. Was it? I think it might have been
No. We had done some trivia down here in the studio, too.
Before that, okay.
But that's when we took it to new heights that day.
Yeah, we definitely took it to new heights, man. Shout out to the 420 crew.
If you can call Landover New Heights, but yeah, it was definitely a new thing for us. All right, you boys ready? I got 3 questions tonight.
We got to do better because Scotty Boomz has been.
You're not gonna get these.
Yeah, I was terrible. It's because I'm not singing that trivia time. You know, that trivia time.
A couple of these, maybe. So tonight, the topic,
Yeah, baby.
the most underappreciated people on the field who scored the most points. We're talking
Field goal
about kickers. Talking about kickers. I got 3 questions for the gentlemen. Maybe a bonus in there if they're tied up.
They're all kicker based.
They're all kicker based.
They gave you the game early.
Come on now, let you know. All right, the Beard, are you ready?
I was born ready.
Awthentik, are you ready?
I probably know about 5 kickers off the top of my head, but let's go.
Let's trivia. In 2007, which Tennessee Titans kicker broke the record for most field goals made in one game with 8?
Oh, I know who this is.
We're going to start with the Beard.
What year was it again one time?
2007, Tennessee Titans.
Yep.
Ryan Suckup.
Awthentik.
I want to go Ryan Suckup too, but you know who I'm thinking about is the dude who kicked for the Redskins for a while. I can't think of his name though. Remember dude? Oh, Cobra Kai. Remember Cobra Kai? But I feel like he wasn't. I feel like he wasn't over there in 2007 yet. So I'm gonna go Ryan Suckup.
This is 13 years ago. I don't even know if Ryan Suckup was in the league. That's a long time ago.
Oh yeah, we're wrong. We're wrong.
Was it Robbie Gold?
It's the late great Rob Baronis.
I would have never got
that. Baronis.
Yeah.
He was married to Terry Bradshaw's daughter. He fortunately passed away in a drunk driving accident, but Rob Baronis still has the record.
Oh, R.I.P. If I'm Terry Bradshaw, we got beef. Quick.
Why?
No football player dating my daughter.
Well,
goons, man. It's goons all over the field.
Didn't last long. All right, 0-0. Matt Prater, currently of the Detroit Lions, maybe always of the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Holds the record for the longest field goal made in a game. How many yards was it? Awthentik, start with you.
I know who had that before him. It was Elam from the Denver Broncos with 63. So
that was a questionable one because of the altitude. Nobody really gave it full.
Yeah, right.
There's a ton of guys tied. There's a ton of guys tied for second place.
I'm gonna go 60. I'm gonna be one off, I think, but I'm gonna go 64 yarder. I gotcha. 64 yarder. 64 yarder.
65. And he did it in Denver.
You don't get the bonus point because you didn't get the original one right. Awthentik, it is 64 yards. Matt Prater record all time. 1-0. Last question. The Beard, you can catch. And if you tie, we will have a bonus question. You guys ready? The Beard's going to start with you on this answer, so listen up. I don't want to hear a uh-huh or a what.
Say the what?
I don't want to hear it. Who the most accurate kicker in NFL history? Field goal kicker.
Morton Anderson.
Awthentik.
Dang. Morton Anderson, huh? Morton Anderson missed a major kick that team, I forget, 2000 and something, Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss is one of the best teams ever, 15-1, I believe it was, and then Morton Anderson misses the damn game-winning kick to go send them off to the next round of playoffs.
Regretting my answer.
Wide left or wide right or something. That was him.
Yeah, I'm gonna he was pretty accurate though during his career. He definitely was. I'm gonna go with Adam Vinatieri.
You guys are both incorrect. I'm gonna give you the hint, and I'm gonna let you retry this one because that was awful.
Okay.
Top 9 guys. Well, this is bad for the Beard. Vinatieri still kicks, but the top 9 guys on this list are all still active. So field goal kickers have gotten a lot better since the dude you're talking about. A lot better. Morton Anderson was in like the low 80s. These guys.
Is there a minimum kick? You know how many times you got to kick it to be on this list, or
if it's a name, you'll know these guys. I mean, yeah, it probably is, but I didn't look at that.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a household name.
Oh, I'm gonna go
Vinatieri.
I just said that.
Did you?
Yeah. You're done, bro. We're
gonna be right back after this. Look, you know who I think it might be though? I think it's gonna be my man from Baltimore, maybe.
The Beard, you want to go home or you want to go to jail? You want to go home or you want to go to jail, bro? Because right now it's looking like training day. I don't know what you're doing, man.
I'm going Justin Tucker, bro.
Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to go Justin Tucker also.
Didn't you already say Vinatieri?
I did say Vinatieri. I'm going Tucker. I'm going Tucker.
All right, then. The Beard, it is Justin Tucker. He's 91% for his career. You
I said that
redemption.
He don't get no
That's
redemption
what I
on that.
meant to say. I
He
meant to
heard me
say
say that
Justin
first.
Tucker, but I
It's
accidentally
zero.
said Vinatieri.
I meant to say.
Who's number 2, the Beard?
Okay, number 2, Vinatieri.
Hey, he's just trying to take my answers to play it safe.
Harrison Butker of the Chiefs. So they played last night against each other.
Interesting.
That's how you do
our
that.
kickers. I'm not going to disrespect the kickers.
Can we get one bonus question for fun? Because I feel like I can't go out 0-2.
Yeah. What is the best little Debbie snack? The Beard.
Swiss cake rolls.
I'm going to go with the a la carte line donut stick.
You guys are both incorrect. The correct answer was Nutty Buddy. Everyone knows the delicious Nutty Buddy. It's got peanut butter. It's got wafers. It's crunchy. There's 2 of them. There's really no beating a Nutty Buddy. All right.
Swiss cake rolls definitely ain't on that list.
They're sloppy. They're sloppy. They stick to the package.
He is overhyped. Pretty disgusting.
Big time.
I'll give you the Nutty Buddy joint. I'll give you that.
Yeah, Kelly. There we go. That's my girl. I bought you a jersey. She's with the Nutter Butter. She knows the deal. All right, we got. This is getting a little ridiculous in here today. I don't know
We
what's
have another
happening.
question, man. He just lost 2 in a row, man. Get us one in the chat. Get us
Not
one in
gonna
the
lie to
chat.
I'm out of questions. I don't have any questions left.
I have a lot of questions.
This is the hardest part of my job on this show is writing questions every week, and we're running real low here. Sorry.
All right, I guess we're out of trivia, man.
Trivia's
Trivia
over.
time has to come to an end at some point. You know what I'm
Awthentik
saying?
though, you did win. Now you're 2-0 in back-to-back weeks, or you won in back-to-back.
Man, I'm not. I'm used to winning, except for these damn New York Giants, man.
You don't play for them, so if you start playing for them, maybe they would.
I should. I feel like I could have a better completion percentage than Deion Jones.
All right, we only got one more NFC East game to recap from the weekend. This is ridiculous. Hello, you play to win the game. This is the excerpt from the book of Herman Edwards, chapter 1, verse 2. Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Eagles, is not a devout follower. This was the most embarrassing thing I had seen. In overtime, he has a chance to win the game with I believe, 64-yard field goal? He opts to punt the ball, which, in essence, punted away any chance of victory to guarantee him a tie against the Cincinnati Bengals. This game was 23-23. Everyone's talking today in the last couple of days about the decision. I think Doug Peterson already regrets his decision. Awthentik, man. You immediately jumped in our group chat like, I can't believe what I'm seeing, man. How did you feel about the decision and the Eagles overall? They don't look good, dude. They're done.
Okay, so I'll tell you this, man. When I saw them settle for the punt there and just pretty much give in for the tie, I was super upset. And y'all saw it in the chat. I was like, what are they doing? They're just giving up. They're settling for this tie. You play to win the game. I'm with Herm Edwards. My girlfriend says I'm going to look like Herm Edwards when I get older, too. And Tony Dungy. Come on. But rethinking it just a little bit with the way the NFC East division is going, where we might have a division winner at like 7-8-1 or whatever, that you've seen out of.
So you're saying the Eagles are going to make the playoffs?
That one year with the Broncos, and I forget who it was. They were playing the last week of the season, and they both had losing records. And I think that might happen in the NFC East this year, especially if the Cowboys can't get this defense together. So looking back at it, I'm not mad at the call to just take the tie there because, man, you keep yourself in the hunt. If you kick that field goal and you miss it, now you're at the bottom of the division with the New York Giants. And the Eagles look a lot better than the Giants. Miles Sanders has 3 games of 90 yards. I mean, that's something to look forward to if you can get it clicking and have Carson Wentz not turning the ball over. So I'll renege on that just a little bit. I think it might have been the right call playing it safe because a tie is better than a win when it comes down to the end of the year. You're trying to get – a tie is better than a loss, when it comes down to the end of the year. The Eagles should have won this game before all that happened. I mean, Joe Burrow cleaned it up, no turnovers, 31-44, 312 yards and 2 touchdowns, which that looks great. But running the ball, Joe Mixon is garbage. And really, Joe Burrow was the only thing that was clicking for this Bengals offense. Miles Sanders, 18 carries, 95 yards. Carson Wentz, 9 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown to add to the running game. Zach Ertz had a solid game, but I heard Zach Ertz is going to be out, right?
Goddard.
Oh, Goddard is the one who's going to be out.
Goddard has at
the tight end position.
What is before I forget, sorry to interrupt. What is a a small fracture. What does that mean, Doctor?
A small
Homewood?
fracture, a little crack.
Yeah, a little something.
Like,
A little
I mean,
slight.
a fracture is a fracture. It's broken. It's broken, right?
No,
Like,
a fracture is not a break. A fracture is a crack.
yeah. So
They're the same things. Fractures and breaks, they're all the same thing.
So, Dr. Homewood, how long is Goddard out with a small fractured ankle?
What does it say, man? I don't know. They X-rated, not me.
What does it say? Scotty told you stop trying to pull that doctor card live on air, bro. You just do the X-rays, bro. Come on.
If you gave me a picture of the X-ray, I could probably tell you. But I mean, small fracture, they could be lying about it. They don't have to release that stuff. They just got HIPAA violations all over the place.
Yeah, and I mean Goddard, he's serviceable and he comes and he gets his catches. But we know Zach Ertz is the number one guy there. I was talking about Goddard being able to maybe take that position last week, and you were disagreeing, Tim. So, Zach Ertz will continue to go forward. 7 catches, man, 70 yards. That's enough to get you a dub. These statistics in this box score for the Eagles look like they should have won this game. The Bengals was 3 of 13 on third down. Why are we fighting at the end of the game to get a tie? It makes no sense here. You know what I'm saying? And they only rushed for 48 yards. Joe Mixon not getting it done. Now, what I did want to talk about is this Eagles defense who paid your Redskins a little homage here, and they got 8 sacks on Burrow in this game.
Yeah.
So to me, this was the winning formula, but the turnovers, man, the 2 interceptions from Carson Wentz, that makes that game just way closer. The Eagles dominated in time of possession, total yards, and in first downs. Doug Peterson, man, he was asked about that benching of Carson Wentz. And I think that's just a stupid question. Carson Wentz is proven the boy can ball. When they won the Super Bowl, granted he wasn't in the game, but he won 13 of those games, I want to say that year or whatever it was. He played in 13 of them. I'm sorry, he didn't win them, but he played in 13 of those games to get them in the position to be able to be in the Super Bowl and get a win there. And shout out to my homie Kamani, man. I was with them in Miami when the Eagles won that Super Bowl, and I was rooting for the NFC East, man. We were surrounded by Patriot fans during that game, hanging out with a bunch of Patriots fans, all in my homie's face. And I was glad to see the Eagles get that first Super Bowl win. It's a good look. I think Carson Wentz is the quarterback moving forward. I mean, I think you could deal that kid they drafted, man. I think
Not going to happen.
I think it's a stupid draft pick because he's not even that.
I thought it was
unless
stupid.
Something happens like Lamar Jackson kind of esque, where you see something that a lot of other teams didn't see, and you could develop a whole offense around that kid. I don't know, man. I don't see Carson Wentz not being the starting quarterback for the Eagles. Should have won this game, and Doug Peterson playing it safe at the end there and taking the punt, knowing that if you miss that 64-yard field goal, you pretty much got like 5 to 10 yards for the Bengals to get before they're in field goal position to win the game. There was only like a minute and some change left in the game. Yeah, I mean, the Eagles got to get it together. But, yeah, Carson Wentz is playing with a bunch of bums still. And last year he managed to get the job done with a bunch of bums. And this year he's not really managing to get it done. And people are like, oh, God, Carson Wentz this, Carson Wentz that. Pump the brakes, man. Pump the brakes.
Yeah, the beard. I mean, that's the thing. Eagles, 8 sacks, 10 tackles for loss. They rushed for 175. Is there a quick fix, Tim? Or, like, what's going on? What can they do here?
There is no quick fix. They don't have that big play anymore. They just don't. Like when they need to get out of a jam, out of a game situation like this where they should be winning, but in order to finally get over that hump, they need that, that like Philly special or the Deshaun bomb. You know what I'm saying? They need something like that. They just don't have that. They don't. Jalen Reagor, out. Alshon Jeffrey, that chick Liz Frank got him all jacked up.
Deshaun left the game too, right?
Deshaun left the game. He got a groin or a hamstring injury. Goddard got the little baby fracture.
Yep.
You know
the kid
what I'm
Ward
saying?
stepped up and had a lot of catches. Though.
Greg Ward did, yes, indeed. And then, but this is the thing is that I hate to say it because especially with the way that we defend the other quarterbacks, but it comes to a point where you can't make excuses anymore for Carson Wentz. It's unfortunate. It really is. And because I like Carson Wentz as a quarterback, I think there's a lot of intangibles that he has as a quarterback that make him a good quarterback and possibly a great quarterback. It's just the situation right now is bad in Philly. Their offensive line, didn't Peters go down again during the game too?
Yeah.
Their offensive line is bad, right? They have no big play capability right now. The defense is in the secondary is bad.
Terrible. Against the pass, they're awful. They allowed 300 plus to Joe Burrow here. They allowed 449 yards to the Rams the week before. And then the week before that, they allowed the Redskins to come back from a 17-point deficit. Biggest, comeback in Redskins history in the past like 20 years or something like that. Those things can't happen. You have to be able to stop the pass. I mean, defense is a priority in the NFL, and it's one that is very overlooked. People think you're going to be able to go out here and win with these rinky-dink defenses, bringing in these bum players, these no-name secondary players. That's not going to happen in the NFL. It's just not going to happen.
Especially now when everybody's throwing the ball all over the playground. You know
and
what
look
I'm
at the Chiefs, man. They're a good example because, look, we talked about this, Tim, and you brought this up to me off air when I was talking about how good the Chiefs defense came in this year, ranked 11. The prior year before that, they were one of the defenses at the bottom of the league. And when they got into the playoffs, when they got into the championship game, it showed, and they couldn't get the W because the firepower couldn't keep up. They go, and Steve Spagnuolo and this organization makes all the proper moves. You bring in Honey Badger. You bring in a cornerback from the Redskins who he hasn't gotten a lot of play time because he's been suspended, right?
Not Kendall. He played opposite of Kendall Fuller. What's his name?
Rashad Breeland, he's had great years over there with Kansas City. They addressed that defense properly, and it's showing. And now you get a Super Bowl the following year with Patrick Mahomes, and I feel confident in that team throughout. I'm like, man, dude, you can't stop the Chiefs now that they got a defense. Who gonna stop them? Tom Brady's not in New England no more, so we ain't got to worry about that killer.
So this is my question for you guys. Okay, I got two questions. First question is at what point do you start taking in the stats of a season and you really utilizing that data to determine how a team is performing? We're at 3 weeks, team or player. We're at 3 weeks into the season now. So
not enough time.
At 4 weeks, you're a quarter of the season in, right? So after 4 weeks, are we going to start taking the stats and the data serious or no?
Every instance is particular and different. When you're looking at Dwayne Haskins, who he had 7 starts last year. Is that what it was? 8 starts? We can't go into season 2 first 3 weeks and judge anything. If anything, we know what we're getting from Dwayne Haskins a bit already, what we saw from last year. But these 3 games don't change that. I mean, even if he was balling out, it wouldn't change it, would it? If Dwayne Haskins comes out and has 2 touchdowns every game, no interceptions, we'd be like, oh, he's progressing and he's turning into the quarterback maybe we thought he was, but it wouldn't jump off the chart to you. So I think we can't look at these 3 weeks with not too much significance. I mean, It does mean something. When you see teams consistently doing things to destroy you like the Dallas Cowboys, or if you see an offense potentially putting up 400 plus yards every game and 5 touchdowns like the Seattle Seahawks, I mean, yeah, we see what it is. It's pretty obvious. But when you look at Daniel Jones in New York with no weapons, rushing at the bottom of the league, defense at the bottom of the league, how can you judge a quarterback? How can you judge a quarterback who has absolutely no running game? 50 yards a game? We want to judge how this guy's throwing the ball? What do you think the defenses are doing when you're rushing for 50 yards a game? They're pinning back and just blitzing the quarterback. So hard to judge, I think. You can take it with a grain of salt, I feel like, but very hard to judge.
So
what, just 3 weeks
5 weeks? 5 weeks?
Yeah, 5 weeks.
5 weeks?
Five gives you a gauge of more team statistics, I feel like, and you could gauge a team's success better. Like, look at how we have a grip on Dallas a good bit more now after 3 weeks even, right? But that's particular to Dallas because that infrastructure has been there for a bunch of years already. Yeah, we got a new coach coming in, but that team is that team. Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott. We've had that team. Vander Esch at linebacker. This team has been that team for a long time, right? They're trying to add the pieces to make them a Super Bowl contending team, which seems like Dallas has been doing that since Troy Aikman left, and they just can't seem to get the right players. And when they do get some players helping that defensive side of the ball, then you deal them off like you did Byron Jones, which that's showing up crazy right now. But for team statistics, I'll round it off with this. For team statistics, 3 weeks shows you a little bit about what that team is. The Giants look like garbage through 3 games. The Redskins look pretty much like garbage through 3 games. If you remove the comeback, they look like garbage through 3 games. Philadelphia Eagles, they look pretty garbage through 3 games. When you're allowing
the worst to me. If you want
the Giants, the Giants look the worst. Yeah, the Giants, because look, they're still in the games. The only game that Philadelphia wasn't in was the LA Rams game, and
they
see
still
LA Rams
came back a little bit at the end of that game.
37-19. That's but the Rams, you saw what they did against Buffalo, who's a playoff team from last year, and coming into this year, we know what Buffalo's defense is, and offensively trying to stop Josh Allen is super difficult, and the Rams hung with that team. The Eagles, come on, we can't even put them in that bracket. They're a bad team, but they're not as bad as New York Giants are right now. They're at least showing you that they can run the ball, and Carson Wentz is getting some passing yards with this dismal wide receiver core. But Daniel Jones has nowhere to go with the ball. There's no playmakers. You getting Golden Tate getting 4 and 5 catches on 50 yards. That ain't gonna do it. It's just not going to do it. So I put the Giants at the bottom. 3 games is enough to see because the Giants have been a dismal team for 6 years. We've got, 2 GMs, 3 coaches. It speaks for itself.
So, all right, last question for me to you guys, Boomz. Carson Wentz, how many more multiple turnover losses before they pull the plug on Carson Wentz this year?
Well, that's 3, right? I mean, he didn't lose this game, but I guess it's 3 non-winning games where he has multiple turnovers. It's 6 interceptions. He had 7 all year last year. You just paid this guy. You can't put him on the bench. That's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it really is.
I feel you, but they drafted a quarterback. They're losing. He's turning the ball over. It has to be up for debate somewhat, right?
Jalen Hurts had a turnover, right? He fumbled the ball.
He did have a turnover on his one play in the game.
Right. Come on. So, you know, maybe it's not better to turn what you don't know. That's what
talking about it a little bit more.
Better.
What I think that the Eagles are doing here, they realized that they don't have any depth last year when all their wide receivers and linemen are going down. Into this year, rugby guy playing right tackle, you got punters playing wide receiver and all this crazy stuff. You don't have the depth, and you probably don't have the money to bring people in right now. So I think it's starting to make sense to me now. The reason why they probably brought in Jalen Hurts was so if they need to just completely rebuild, they'll go into that, and they won't do that trying to win while rebuilding like Dave Gettleman did and look like an idiot. What they'll do is they'll off Carson Wentz and trade him for a pick, and then you got a young quarterback who you can start trying to build the next generation of talent around instead of it being Carson Wentz, who's probably entering not being a young quarterback anymore now, if you feel what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's say goodbye to everybody then. The Beard, you got anything you want to say to the folks tonight before we let them go?
No, just once again, thank everybody for the love and support. Shout out to everybody watching us on Facebook, Twitch, and Periscope. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know every time that we go live. Redskins are in first place.
Definitely are. I like that comment from Giant Opinion Sports. He said the Giants are going 4-12 and winning the East. Would not surprise me.
Yo, how crazy would that be?
It could happen. Yeah. Awthentik, man. Send them off.
Oh, man. Man, shout out to all the New York Giants creators on YouTube, man. I got to shout out each and every one of y'all. One of my main statistics on my rant about the New York Giants came from Kid Blue, which was about the San Francisco 49ers almost scoring the same amount of points we've scored all year in one game with their JV team. That was a stat from Kid Blue. Shout out to Cop Pizzle. I just love his quirks and how he just wilding out on camera, keeping it 100% real. I definitely recommend checking him out. Shout out Ron Effect. Shout out my man Entertainer. Shout out my man Bad Dog. Yo, anybody cooking up? It's a new Giants dude I've been checking for too. This young dude. It's called Big Blue Unbiased. This kid Vincent. He seems like a young dude, and he really know his stats. I pulled a couple stats from him today too, man. He had some really good stuff. The offensive line statistic about Andrew Thomas allowing the most pressures. I got that from him today too. So shout out to everybody that's still cooking up through this drought, man, because the Giants have been an awful team for too many years. And this got to turn around. And I don't think it's going to be turned around by just firing everybody. So whoever thinks that's the plan, tanking and firing everybody, get rid of Gettleman and get rid of Daniel Jones, that ain't the plan, bro. We got to fix the leaks on this team. We really got to fix the leaks on this team. So I wanted to make it a point to shout out all the Giants creators, especially Cop Pizzle, man. People coming for him, man. And that dude, he's the most OG when it comes to YouTube content. He got videos on Eli Manning when Eli Manning was drafted, where he told all y'all, sit down. Eli Manning got this. And 2 Super Bowls later, he looks like Nostradamus. So thank you, everybody in the chat, man. I'm going to continue to keep bringing forth this Giants football talk. I got faith in my squad. No gear on today, man. You know what I'm saying? I got the Midnight Marauders popping. No Giants gear today. But I promise y'all some Giants gear next week. Tim laced me with some stuff from over the years, some vintage, pristine quality threads. Single thread as these YouTubers. Single stitched, as the resellers say in the community. So yeah, I'm gonna come out a little bit fresh next week because I do got faith in my team and I got faith in my quarterback until we see more out of Daniel Jones. I want to make an assessment of our quarterback at the end of the season. I want to make an assessment of our GM at the end of the season. Don't bring in this guy Riddick, who's a GM on TV.
Oh, no.
Don't bring him in. He was high on Dwayne Haskins. He thought that was the best quarterback in that draft.
Okay,
don't bring him in.
Let me
he's
tell
a
you
TV
something.
GM.
No, he's not. He is a legitimate front office guy.
You had your turn. Yeah, so Louis Riddick, keep him to the side, man. We got faith in Dave Gettleman over here. He's brought in free agents. He's brought in people that have been an immediate impact on his team. Shout out to my man, James Bradbury. And we're going to continue to push this New York Giants football because obviously I'm overwhelmed on the best division in football over here with these two Redskins fans. So y'all who are Giants fans in the chat, continue to support this Giants football. I'm going to continue to give you these authentic critiques. I'm not going to give you no flaking, none of that. I almost want to take off the monetization on this channel so I could just start cursing up a storm and start talking to y'all how Awthentik really be talking to y'all, you know? So thank you for checking us out. That rant is going to be, I'm going to chop that rant. You're going to see that on YouTube and on the Instagram. So if you missed the rant earlier in the show, we're going to bring that back up later on this week. So yeah, salute to everybody. Don't forget to subscribe, like, do all that good stuff. And if you don't, it's all good. Just being here and showing your support is good enough for Awthentik and the Beard and my man, Scotty Boomz.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a beautiful evening. Best division in football.